Here we go. This is lesson 25, Algebra 1. We're going to continue solving inequalities. Okay? So, big picture is we're working backwards to find the answer. We have a story on the board with math, and we try to figure out what's going on. Okay? So, same steps as yesterday, except today it gets a little more complicated. Things are going to be kind of disorganized. Kind of like when you get a big, messy story, and you're like, okay, let's say I give, 1 year I give, 2 of my kids equal amounts of money, and then the next year I give 3 of my kids, because I have a third one at that point, equal amounts of money, and all the total cost was like so much money. What's the answer going to be? Okay, so it's kind of like that. So you kind of have to combine like terms and such. So here are steps from yesterday. The only thing we're adding from the last lesson is the first step right here. Okay, so combine like terms, and we've done this before. So here we go. Watch me do numbers 1 and 2. And we'll get going. Number 1, 1 minus p plus 4 is greater than or equal to 2. So I'm going to rewrite it underneath, so I have a little space here. So 1 minus p plus 4 is greater than or equal to 2. Okay, first thing I want to do is combine like terms. I know that there's a p here and it's being subtracted, so we have a 1 and a 4. These are both constants on one side, so I'm going to combine those first. 1 plus 4 is 5. It's positive 5. So we still have negative p plus 5 is greater than or equal to 2. I want to work with SADMAP now. So any subtraction signs? No. There's a minus p, but that's like saying minus 1 times p, right? Because that's a coefficient. Okay. And then any addition signs, we have a plus 5. We're going to subtract 5 on both sides. So we got negative p is greater than or equal to negative 3. Okay, now we have a negative p, which is like saying negative 1 times p. That's the coefficient. So the way I get rid of a negative 1 is I divide both sides by negative 1. And so we have a positive p. And whenever I divide by negative or multiply by negative, I flip the sign. So instead of a greater than, I'm going to switch it to a less than. Okay, and negative 3 divided by negative 1 is positive 3. So our answer is going to be p is less than or equal to 3. Now I'm going to go to 3. And I'm going to have the arrow pointing to the left. And I fill it in because it's equal to. Okay, that's number 1. Same as yesterday, right? Yeah. Number 2. Number 2 is a little bit harder. We have x's on both sides, so I'm going to rewrite this underneath so I have room to write. 3x minus 11 is greater than negative 2 times the quantity of 1 minus 3x. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is identify where my x's are. There's x's here and there's x's here. Except the ones over here are being distributed by this negative 2. So the first thing I want to do is distribute this negative 2 to each of these. So we got negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6x, which is, and then bring the rest down. We didn't do anything to our equation yet. We just distributed. Now we're going to combine like terms. Okay, I'm going to move all my x's over to this side. So it says positive 6x, so I'm going to subtract 6x here. And on this side, 3x minus 6x is negative 3x. Bring down a negative 11, which is greater than, and then we have negative 2. Okay, any subtraction signs by the x? Yep, negative 3, or negative 11's, or 11's being subtracted, so I'm going to add 11 to both sides. So you got negative 3x is greater than positive 9. We have a negative 3, need to divide both sides by negative 3. When I divide by negative, again, I have to flip this inequality sign, so this is actually going to become less than. So x is going to be less than negative 3. Okay, so that's my final answer here. So I'm going to go up to my number line, go to negative 3, and we said it's less than, so it's going to be pointing to the left. And it's not filled in because there's no equal sign. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Yep, that's it. Okay, so that's how we do it. A little bit more work today because you have to combine like terms, but really it's the same thing as yesterday, just a little bit harder. Okay? I'd like you to do 1 cell 2 is about number 1, 2 cell 1 is about number 2. Ready, set, go. Ready, number 3. Okay, negative 4r plus 3r is greater than 5, so let's do this one together. Negative 4r plus 3r is greater than or equal to 5. Okay. What's the name of our variable here? R. Are all of the R's together? No, good. So they're on the same side, which is nice. So what's negative 4R plus 3R? Negative 1R, right? Which is greater than or equal to 5. Okay. Is R by itself yet? No. What do I need to do to both sides? Divide by what? Good. What happens when I divide by a negative number? You flip which sign? Good. The inequality sign. Good. So we flipped it. R is less than or equal to negative 5. Please graph this, and I will on your whiteboards, and then we'll put our answers up. Okay, good. So R is less than or equal to negative 5, so you put a circle. It's pointing left, and since it has the equal sign, you're going to fill it in. Okay, number 4. What's the name of our variable here? Good. Looks like all the n's are together, but what's not together on number 4? What's not together? The negative 3 and the 5. So what's negative 3 plus 5? 2, right? Positive or negative 2? Good. So we have n plus 2 is less than 3. Let's finish that one off. Go. You didn't get it? Subtract 2 on both sides. And when we subtract, we're not flipping the sign, so it's going to be n is less than 1. Okay, that's the answer. And so we go to 1. Draw a circle. Less than is going to the left. We don't fill it in, right? Okay, continuing. Oh, before we continue, remember we have to always, you need to start justifying your answers. We did that in the last test, but let's look back on number 3. What did I do on this first step here on number 3? Good, I combine like terms, right? So then I would write combine like terms. Okay, what did I do here on this step? Divided by? Good, so what's that called? Division property. And since we're dealing with inequalities, we'd say division property of inequality. And that's it, okay? How about this one, number 4? What did I do first here on this step right here? You all there? What did I do here? Good, we combine like terms, right? So we could just write that right next to it. Okay, combine like terms. And then what did I do on the next step here? Subtraction property of? Good. Okay? This is called justifying your answer. You have to do this. This is points on a test. Okay? Keep going here. Number 5. Number 5. Okay, number 5, let's do this one together. What's the name of the letter or variable in this example, number 5? N, okay. Are all my n's together?
No.
No, they're not. So, kind of have a little bit of an issue here, right? So, how do we deal with this? Well, let's talk about it. We have the n's are not together. We have n's on the left here, and we have n's on the right. The one on the left, though, we have to distribute this negative 4 first. So, we're going to, let me write this down first. Negative 4 times 8 plus n is greater than negative 2 plus 6n. Okay? So what's negative 4 times 8?
32.
Negative 32. What's negative 4 times n? Negative 4n, good, which is greater than. What's negative, and then we have negative 2 plus 6n, okay? What property did I just use? Good, we use the distributive property, okay? So we would write that down. Okay, next one. Are all my n's together? Which way do I like having my n's usually? Good. So there's positive 6n on the right. How do I get them together? Good. We subtract 6n on both sides. So now on the left-hand side, I got negative 32 minus 10n is greater than negative 2. Okay. What property did I just use? The what? Subtraction property of inequality. Okay, continuing. Why don't you finish this one off, and then I'll check on your answers. Ready? Go. Okay, so on this one, I would have added 32 first. Okay, so when I do that, these two cancel out, so we get negative 10n. A is greater than positive 30. Okay, and this was the addition property of inequality. Okay, and then we need to divide both sides by negative 10. When I divide by negative, I know that I'm left with n, but this inequality sign gets flipped, okay? So it's going to be less than negative 3. So that's should have been your answer. N is less than negative 3. And we go to negative 3. Draw a circle. We said it's less than. And, of course, it's not filled in, so that's it. And then the property I used at the end was called the division property of inequality. Okay? So most of you got it, and I think we're pretty good with this lesson, so I'm going to end the lesson there. So that we could have more time to start up on your independent practice, okay? So what I'd like you to do right now is talk about these questions.